the spherical rod end on the bottom of his new coilover.
Don't say rod end like that.
Say it differently.
The spherical.
Don't hold it. Don't hold it. How long was it?
Say like this.
It's only like that big.
Say it like in a sexual way.
Miata.
Make it weird. Be like the rod end.
The rod.
It's only
like,
weird if you make it
then
weird.
yeah, it's like grab it a little bit.
All right, welcome back to 1010's podcast. This is Michael, and I've got Adam and Handsome Rob with me again this week.
We're sticking with Handsome Rob. We're gonna.
It seems
see how that
to work.
What's wrong with
carries.
Handsome Rob?
There's nothing wrong with it, but I've got like 8
What
more.
are you saying?
I've got like 8 more nicknames for him.
Are you saying he's not
he
handsome?
hates the rest of them, so I think we should.
You're not
use
even bringing up the other ones. Those are rude.
I think we should use them periodically.
We'll pepper him in.
I
When you go to
I don't like that.
next time you go to talk to him, and you're going to announce his name, just toss one in.
All right.
I hate this already.
So we were.
I'll see if I can. Well, so they're themed.
Oh, okay.
So I'll see if I can work them in with themes.
Okay.
No,
that'll be fun.
No, dude. Fuck.
No. This gives.
Do we just explain them now, or do we?
No.
Now we
don't
have.
explain them at all.
Now,
We just say them.
We let them happen. People figure we have. I assume we have a smarter viewership than
They're all
listenership.
inside, every single one of them is an inside joke that no one's going to understand.
I think they'll get it.
Not a chance.
Yeah,
they'll get it.
but now people have something to look forward to when they listen to the podcast. Is Adam going to run Robbie over with a new name? It's good stuff. This is what people come back for. Creating a segment that happens again and again.
Katie's mom told me that she has no idea what we're talking about, but she enjoys our banter.
Well, that's true.
So
That's what it's all about.
we got something going for us.
So before we attempted to start this podcast, we were talking about Spec Miata.
Robbie has this very strange fascination with Spec Miata racing.
I wouldn't go that
That's like
far.
his life goal
I want to
aspiration.
do club racing. I want
wait a
to
minute.
do like wheel to wheel or something.
Do you really want to do Spec Miata racing?
Yeah.
No, would that not be the easiest one to get into?
No.
I don't think it is.
Well, see, then now educate me.
Improved touring is where it's at.
Okay.
Tell us about
Tell me
improved
about
touring.
it.
So I don't know if I know about that.
So I know very little about club.
Okay.
And this is mostly what I learned from Josh Fettis, who is my resident Miata expert.
I won't argue with that.
And they have a customer who is apparently got money just falling out of his pockets.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
It's
Just
never
so
once
much
happened
money.
to me.
So much money. And he used to run Spec Miata, but now he runs like ITA or ITC or whatever it is that those Miatas end up in, because you can build a competitive improved touring Miata for less money and it will be faster.
Because you don't have to deal with silly engine specs.
Yeah, because like you can drop $15,000 into a Spec Miata motor that makes 125 horsepower at the wheels.
So disappointing.
That is sad.
Well, when Josh's motor makes 110
I know.
at the wheels, it's gonna drop $12,000 to make 15 more horse.
No.
No,
I don't see that it's worth it. I mean, people get really into it. The cool thing about it is it creates the level playing field where the drivers can be compared to one another.
The problem with the class is that it was originally designed to be a cheap class that had tight racing.
Yeah.
And now it's just a class that has tight racing. It's not cheap anymore.
So
Yeah.
what if I wanted to be wheel to wheel racing besides karts or something? What would be the cheapest way to get into
I
it?
think improved touring is where you
Okay.
need to go.
What about Formula 600?
I don't know what those cost.
I don't
I
think
think the big thing with formula cars, at least where we live, is that there's not a lot of them. So, like, when the last year Robbie and I went and did corner working for one of the days that the SCCA had their club race at Iowa Speedway,
Yeah.
and there were, 3 or 4 formula cars there that day?
2 fast ones, 1 really slow one.
Yeah, but none of them were in the same class. There was a Formula Atlantic, which is the fastest SCCA open wheel class.
Wasn't there that brand new Formula Mazda?
There was a Formula Mazda, which is a rotary car.
That's
and
some
it
money.
was spitting flames like nobody's business.
That's
It would come off the oval and into the hard braking zone, and it was just fire. Like, if you were 10 foot behind that car, you didn't have a nose cone anymore. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was brand spanking new. Like, there wasn't even a scratch on it.
Listening to that rotary howl as it goes around the banked oval, oh my God.
It was awesome.
That car was cool.
So I'll add another rotary to my list then. FD Turbo and a Formula Mazda.
Mazda
Those two are
would be real
good.
sick.
I'm good with those.
I think they're carbureted. But,
bizarre. Why would they do that?
maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe it's fuel injected, but they were definitely trumpets. It was ITB'd.
Okay.
But I don't know if they were like or if they were like IDFs or if they were ITBs. I'm not sure.
So we got on this topic because you were talking about there was a runoff.
So 2014, SCCA calls their national championship event at the end of every year is called the runoffs. And in 2014, they had it at Laguna Seca. It's traveling. Goes to different tracks every year. They had it at Laguna Seca in 2014, and the guy that won Spec Miata overall was 7th in the race because the first 6 guys were DQ'd for a rule infraction.
Yeah, it was an illegal engine modification.
And
correct?
what it was they pull the head off and they reshape the cylinder or the combustion chamber on the head so that it's the same displacement, whatever that is in cc's, but it promotes better flame dispersion or whatever it is. So, it makes
2 more horsepower,
1/10 of more horsepower, and so you're just that much faster.
Huh.
But the first 6 guys
all did it,
got kicked out. They lost, and so 7th place won, and that was the farthest back that anybody has ever gone and still won in the history of SCCA runoffs.
This is why I'm not a big fan of spec.
So to
Miata
me,
racing.
And I think it was like 8 out of the top 10 guys total, but 7th place didn't do it.
Right.
But to me, if 8 out of your top 10 racers did it, it should be a rule. It's a gray area. Clearly, it's a gray area.
Yep, I would agree.
And if a majority, if one guy figured it out and did it, then I could see outlawing it. But if 80% of your 10 fastest guys in your class at your national final event did it, the rules should be made so it's legal. That's how I feel about it.
Well, and if it's the same displacement combustion chamber and they're just reshaping it,
yeah,
are we 100% sure that's a gray rule? Because is there a rule that says you can't modify
I
the
was
head?
reading the Jalopnik post before we started this because I wanted to somewhat clarify, and they're not clear about specific about what it is exactly they did, and they post the rule, and the rule is kind of poorly written, or at least it was at that time, and so I'm not real sure about it. But I feel like no matter what the situation is, whatever that current rule is, eight out of your top 10 guys would not do it if it wasn't gray.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
And if it is gray, then it needs, and that many people did it, then it needs to be made black and white.
Yeah.
And I think if a majority of them are already doing it, it should be made legal, not illegal.
Well, if it's, I guess you need to clarify with me because I'm not 100% sure. When they say spec Miata, they're saying that the engine meets OEM spec? Or am I misinterpreting that?
So they're largely stock motors, but they have some allowances that they can do things with.
Okay.
But I mean, it's real small stuff.
Right. So like changing the shape of or the design of your piston.
I guess maybe it should be outlawed because the core reason that they made all those spec classes, and there's a spec E30, there's a spec Z, there's obviously spec Miata. Mm-hmm. The core reason for those classes existing is because they're trying to make cheap, tightly competitive racing. So maybe it should be outlawed because it should just be a factory head that I could go to a junkyard, buy, put on the car, and go racing,
right?
And not spend money on it at a machine shop.
Right. That was kind of my point. I was just going to say
maybe it should be outlawed.
But then probably the whole class has gone too far. Because if you can, like we were talking about, the new ND, you go to Mazda and say, I want to buy a spec
That's
ND.
That's a cup, not a spec.
Oh, that's a cup car?
Yep.
So, but if you're going to go out and buy a spec Miata car, though, it's not cheap.
No, if you want to be nationally competitive, that was why Josh's customer moved to improve touring.
Right.
Because if you want to be nationally competitive in spec Miata, you're going to have 30 or 40 grand wrapped up in a Miata that's barely faster than a stock Miata, at least in a straight line.
Right.
It will handle better.
So then,
because basically you can do a lot more to the suspension. I think, or at least I think, I I've never read the Spec Miata rule book, and I don't really know it that well, but I think they have a pretty good suspension allowance.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
But improved touring Miatas can be faster for cheaper. And so I don't see why you wouldn't go to improved touring.
Unless you feel like you really need to go to,
I don't.
runoffs and run spec.
Well, there's improved touring classes and runoffs too.
I don't know. Not really sure.
I just like going fast.
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't. It's not spec racing's not really my thing. I want to build my car how I want to build it, take it out and race it.
That's why I like time trial. Well, NASA's time trial rules, like they basically have, it's a point system, and you do whatever the hell you want to your car. And when you're done, you add up all the points, and whatever points you got, that's the class you're in.
Kind of like Gran Turismo. Like
or Forza. I mean,
I never played Forza.
Both those. Yeah, you make a mod, it gives you so many points, and you move up and down in a scale based on how many points you've made, and if you have a specific class you're targeting, maybe you've got a car that handles really well right out of the box, but doesn't have a whole lot of power. You've got a Miata, and that's a very good example. You want to throw a turbo kit on that bad boy, so you can keep up with V8 swapped RX-7s in straight lines, but you'll out-corner them.
Doubt it, but okay. Very doubtful.
I think you probably... I think that it's safe to say a Miata is a more nimble car in a corner than an RX-7.
What about 240?
What about a modified RX-7?
Well, that's what makes those things interesting to me.
Right. It's a better classing system. I think we all agree that it's
a better
classing system.
No matter what kind of racing you're doing, I wish that, because that's how NASA's autocross is classed too, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah, because I feel like I get super screwed because I have to run with a race car in my class.
My class is not a good, or my car is not a class. There's always, at least with the SCCA, there's always a class dominating car.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I think there are a couple tried and true methods with NASA solo cross, that's what they call it. NASA cross is what they call it. But there are a couple of tried and true like class winning cars.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot more cars that could be competitive. And then the other thing I like about NASA's ruling, I've never raced a car in my class ever at an SCCA event.
Right.
I've never had a car that's raced in E-Prepared with my Omni. But in NASA, it's almost impossible to end up being the only guy in your class because there's only like 6 or 8 classes total instead of 50 like there is in SCCA.
Right.
So,
anyway, we got off on a tangent.
Yeah, we did.
I'm not mad about it.
That's okay. It was an interesting tangent,
I think
though.
people
I feel like I learned a little bit.
Good. That's what we want.
That's why we're here, Robbie.
Yes. We're here to educate me on where I should take
this
all of
podcast
my
purely
money.
Exists to give Robbie more information.
Exactly.
That's what I live for. I sit at home every night trying to anticipate what Robbie will want to learn about.
Does Robbie know about
research
this?
it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always 240 things, so get on.
See, that's the other thing. You could build an improved touring 240.
What
There
about
you
my
go.
240 now?
You could take your 240 and make it an improved touring car.
I'll use that one for autocross to get a different one for improved touring.
That's fine. Whatever you want to do. That's the cool thing about improved touring is that you don't end up racing just one car. You know, it's not a field of Miatas that sound like a million angry bees.
That'll be perfect. I will keep my 240, and then I'll buy my Lotus, and we'll be good to go.
So what you should do, you could just have like a fleet of 240s. You've got your autocross spec 240. You've got your road course spec
drift 240.
You've got your drift 240. You've got your show 240. You've got your lowrider 240.
Got your
with the
daily
hydraulics.
It's not going to be a lowrider 240.
Why not?
Damn it,
You
Robbie.
love lowrider things. Everybody knows that.
Everyone knows if you're going to go with it has to be like a classic, like a cruising down the street in my 6.4.
No.
No.
We want to be innovators here, Robbie.
Yeah.
We at 10/10
No.
are innovators.
If that guy was still selling that white 90 or 89 across town, I'd be really tempted to buy that one.
What's that?
That
That
white
was-
one I went.
Oh,
with
that was caged.
the fully caged.
The one that was
without
already
engine.
caged, just didn't have a motor, a roller.
It was a drifter. It was
I
awesome.
pushed real hard for him to buy that car.
It was-
I still love that car.
It was a little pricey, if I remember right. Wasn't it a little on the high side?
You wanted 5 for it.
But I think you'd have a hard time building that car for that. I mean, you could.
It was well done.
I suppose that's true.
It was a little expensive because it's a roller, but you couldn't start with a chassis and build that car. for that much money. You'd have more money in it just buying the car and getting someone to build the cage.
Yeah, he knew what he had, and it was fairly priced.
Well, I assume he sold it, so.
I never saw it for sale again, but once his sale or his ad expired, he never put it back up again.
Oh, maybe he didn't sell it
And
then.
I don't think he did, because I was like the only one that really went and looked at it, as far as I knew.
Oh. It's hard to sell drift cars, though, because there's a Drift FC RX-7 that's been for sale, and it's not that expensive. It's like
I've
$6,000.
seen that car. It looks like a
the
decent
black car.
car.
It looks like a really nice car. Like, it looks like even if you didn't want to drift it, you could change the setup pretty easily.
It's just a suspension tuning setup.
That thing's been for sale for like 6 months, and I can't figure out why.
That'd be a great whatever you want to do with it car. It's got a lot of good parts in it.
I guess if anybody's near Iowa and you want an FC RX-7 that's already set up to do racing, you should, Google that. Do some Craigslist.
Michael will help you fix the torque mod problem, and
No, I'm not mad at the car as it is. I think it's a nice car.
Did you hear that? Did everybody hear that?
I know what he said.
What's
This has been a week of revelations for Michael.
Oh, jeez.
Can
Let's not go down that route.
Damn it.
Let's
We're talking about that next week, aren't we?
Yeah, let's talk about that later. Let's talk about our
I'm good with
topics.
that.
We
Let's
do all
talk
this.
about our
We have all these
We
meetings.
got to shout out
Hold on,
people.
we completely skipped all our
We
introductions.
got to talk about our Mike.
Oh, we did skip everything.
skipped
Robbie-
everything.
This is the most disorganized. By the way, so people know we have a meeting, because I'm a project manager, so I set up a meeting. So we have a meeting before we do a podcast, and then we talk before we do the podcast, and we've got all these documents and sheets.
Lists.
Completely ignored all that for this one.
Just
apparently.
Google Drive.
We almost
We're-
jumped to
we're
step 3.
Yeah,
professional.
sorry. Okay, so let's go back. So social media, we've got 10 Tenths Podcast basically on everything except for Snapchat. We're at the number 10 Tenths on Twitter, 10 Tenths Podcast on Facebook, 10tenthspodcast.com, and you can find us on Instagram at 10 Tenths Podcast.
I think that's it.
That should be all of them.
should be
That
it.
covers them all.
10 Tenths Podcast at Gmail.
Rate us on iTunes. Share us with your friends. Leave us comments.
We love comments.
I do like comments.
Just to remind
Good.
everybody, you leave
Comments
us.
are fun. I legitimately open my iTunes every time I get on my computer to see if anyone left us a new comment because I enjoy it.
I do like that.
Even if they're we haven't had a negative one yet, but even if they're negative, I'd still like
We
to
can
see
learn
it.
from it. It's a learning experience.
Well, we had one negative comment, but it really had nothing to do with us. Somebody
Silky B?
Yeah, tried to hijack.
We're not plugging Silky
Let's not
B.
talk
Screw
about
him.
it. Yeah, don't say his name anymore.
Stole it from us. Oh, well, then we also now have business cards. So
We got business cards.
you want a business card? We'll give it to you. Otherwise, we're just gonna start handing them out to people that we want to listen or
Hand
have
them out to randos. We'll throw this out there. We're going to do decals or stickers, I guess.
Yep, eventually.
And we're going to do some T-shirts. We're going to up our marketing game.
I've got some pictures I've saved on my phone of strange things, and when we get stickers, I'm going to start doing contests. Like, first person to tell me what this is.
Oh yeah,
It's a
I like
sticker.
that. I like that. Oh, you need to plug
Stickers and
your.
shirts.
You need to plug your bit.
Which one's that? The one on the website?
The Saturday morning thing.
Let's wait till I get one going first.
Okay, I'll plug my bit then. We've
right.
got the blog page on the website. I wrote a thing. I'll probably only write something once a month unless I can find more time in my life between going to work and chasing gains. But for now, at least we got one
That's
post up there.
gains, not girls. For those keeping
Gains.
track.
Chasing them gains.
Actually,
son.
it sounded like you said chasing gays, so
Don't get
totally
your
different.
Don't get your
scenario on
hopes
that
up,
one.
Robbie. Don't get your hopes up.
Hey-o.
I'm comfortable. Whatever.
Okay, so now can I? No, we got a shout out.
We got a shout out.
Yeah.
This week we're going to shout out David Allen, who's a friend of mine. I'm going to call him a friend of mine because apparently he was upset that I referred to him as a
friend.
coworker of
Sorry,
a friend.
David. We've known David for a long
I
time.
really like
Years,
David.
many
David's a
years.
nice
We like
guy.
David. We do. He
I
bought some tires. That
He's
guy.
a Mustang fan.
Yeah.
But, everyone's got their
Well, you
Problems,
gotta have
yeah.
that guy.
their downfall.
He's got some. Do you see those tires he bought though?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's got
285s.
RE71s.
285.
285.
Wasn't that square?
I think
should
so.
be.
Yeah, that's a lot of grip.
So when I put RE11s on my Audi, the very first thing he said to me, because he ran RE11s 285s on his Mustang for 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
The first thing he said to me was, "Boy, those tread patterns look awfully small on your tires because they were a 225. It just wasn't big enough for Mr. Mustang."
Those things are like steamrollers. They're huge.
Yeah, it's an impressive. He's going to be faster than he already was.
He's
and
quick. He's quick
consistently
anyway.
been
This will
the
be a good
fastest
year,
guy
so-
at Marshalltown. So
Let's get super nerdy. What's the tread wear on that tire? Is that like a 120 or something like that?
Treadwear's 200.
Yeah,
those
is it
are the 200 Treadwear street.
What's the difference between those and the 11s then?
The RE11 was not a 200 Treadwear and not nearly as fast.
Hmm.
The RE71R is basically the tire that was made to break street touring and street classes in SCCA autocross.
Well, he's probably not going to be any slower this year then. So
No, he's going to be. I guarantee you that he will. That tire is capable of him being faster as long as he can drive it well enough to take advantage of that tire.
So you're going to be faster, and I should be faster, and David will be faster. And we hope that you're fast.
Michael should be faster.
I should be faster.
Chaz will be
Realistically,
faster.
we could all be putting like 118s in Marshalltown.
Whoa, let's set the bar a little lower.
That's next week's topic.
All right.
Let's not go there yet.
We got way ahead of ourselves.
We got one more shout-out.
Yeah.
Who's the other shout-out?
Josh Petrie.
Josh LaPetrie.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced. Inadvertently, we have pointed him down the path of getting his car done way quicker than he anticipated, because he's been sending me lists of like $5,000 worth of stuff he needs
Michael
to buy.
loves lists.
I love lists.
And then he's like pricing them out on different websites, and then he's posting pictures of his painted car. He's consistently working on it basically every day.
I saw some motor work.
Yep, I didn't know what he all did to the motor. We had it cleaned.
Josh, I want to recommend this. Don't put all the parts you want to buy on one list, because then you'll see what the total is.
He did.
Be like, son of a bitch.
It's
That's
so
a lot of money. You'll learn that early on in your modding game. Don't make lists of what you want to buy.
Make
with
the
prices.
Put the big list together.
Make a list of the things you need, but don't put prices on it.
So depressing.
Or put fake prices so when your wife sees it, she's like, "Oh, that's not so bad. $1,000 for all that stuff? Sure."
Yeah, there you go. Put used like forum deal pricing on there.
Yeah, there you go.
Craigslist price. So yeah, that's our two favorite fans this week, I'd say.
For this week.
Yeah. Hit us
We're
up.
try and do a listener of the week, but it probably won't be weekly because I don't know that we'll get that much. But
hey, if we encourage people to send us comments and rate us and interact with us on all our social media,
yeah,
that's all it takes, man.
If you take us on an Instagram picture and it's like, check out this stupid thing I did, we'll check it out. We don't care.
Yeah, you might be listener of the week. You never know.
Yep.
Just interact with us. That's all.
that should be people's goals in life, is to be the 1010s podcast listener of the week.
Let's not get too carried away, but
No, I think we're that big deal to some people.
in Russia we are. Yeah,
We're
this
big in
week.
Russia,
We're
yeah.
big in Russia this week.
No, we're just on Instagram.
We're big in Russia on
We're
Instagram.
the drift sleuts.
So?
Because Robbie liked one of them, and then they just started following us.
Yeah,
Our Instagram's a little out
I
of control.
only liked one of them.
Our Instagram's slightly out of
Do
control.
we have at least twice as many people that we're following as are following us?
No.
It's way worse than that.
See, that's a little weird.
We're
to
way
me.
upside down.
I'm trying to build it. You can't just do an Instagram and not follow or like people. That's not how it works.
I guess.
I have 72 followers and 381 followers. But basically, if it's any decent car page, I follow it.
I suppose. I don't know. Maybe that's how Instagram works. I
It
just
is.
don't understand it.
Well, unless you're like buying fake followers, you got to build it somehow.
I guess.
He's got some interesting followers. He's got an F1 test driver.
There's a
I've
handful of
noticed.
professional racers that follow us.
Yeah.
We have that on Twitter, too.
It's neat.
Yeah.
Clay Milliken,
Speedway.
Speedway.
Yeah,
Speedway loves us.
God, we love Speedway.
we really do.
Keep throwing that plug in there, even though I'm sure they're tired of it.
Yeah.
They're going to tell us to cease and desist.
I don't think
can
they will,
can
because
I do topics now?
Things. Let's
topic
move
number
on.
one. Let's do topics. All right, so topic number one.
This might be our biggest argument we've had yet.
What?
It's not an argument.
It's a cargument.
It's a cargument.
Oh, my bad. It's a cargument.
And if you Urban Dictionary it will tell you that it's an argument in a car, which is
Incorrect.
wrong.
Incorrect, sir.
It is an argument about cars.
Yes.
We can submit our definitions to
screw them. Who
Urban
cares?
Dictionary.
Our definition on the podcast is the only thing that matters.
You know, we need like you need to have a soundboard over there where you can like
hit buttons.
hit buttons, and one of them needs to be 1010's podcast copyright 2016.
I could
when
just
we
put-
come up with really brilliant ideas, like right in the middle of this,
thing
That
Yeah.
are patent
that
pending.
happens.
then we just hit that button, and then people will leave it alone.
I don't want to be a wacky radio DJ. Like,
That's
you know,
exactly
hit
what
buttons.
it is.
No, I don't want to do that.
No?
It's so terrible.
Terribly awesome.
It's descended into madness. It's just not the way that we want to do this.
So I want Robbie to introduce it because he's the one who came up with this plan.
I did.
and he's the one who's most wrong about it.
I am the one that's most right about it. Already arguing.
Argument.
This week's topic is what makes a good daily driver.
And we're going to start by talking about our daily drivers and why Robbie's wrong.
Okay. So we will start with, we mentioned it in the first podcast, I drive a 2013 Nissan Rogue. I didn't have the money for the S or whatever the other one is. So it's a bone
They make
stock.
a sport version?
Well, it's got like all the bells and whistles, like backup cameras, navigation, the touchscreen, all that junk.
These are things I don't care
leather,
about.
heated seats. Nothing I really cared about. So I have the base model regular radio, no heated seats. I got XM radio now. It's pretty nice.
X fleet car.
Yeah, it was not BioLife. What's the other one?
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
There's more than one?
It was another blood company.
No, I don't care.
So there's blood on the inside of it. That's good.
Yeah, all sorts.
As long as the blood and semen and
It's in the back.
God knows what else.
I bought it used. It was a fleet vehicle. Had 120,000 miles or 125,000 miles in 2 years.
That's a lot of miles on a car.
Yeah, I'd rather have a new car or a newer car with high mileage than an older car with low mileage.
I agree with that.
Okay. So yeah, it's basically it still smells like a brand new car. Just saying.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
How's that helpful?
Well, that means it's not beat to shit on the inside.
I don't think it does. It
Everything's
means
nice.
they bought air fresheners.
It's got blood on the inside.
No, it's natural. It's
got
not
blood on the inside.
That's what you're smelling.
Either way, it smells nice. Anyways, so that's my car. We'll start with that. You can introduce your car, and then we'll go to the argument.
Why don't we're introducing? I mean, people know what I drive.
You don't know that somebody didn't just download this now.
Yeah,
So you gotta
starting on episode 4.
I have a 2001
6.
S10 Extreme, bare bones except for the Extreme package, which makes it like 2 inches lower, and they do like stiffer sway bars and stuff like that. So, yeah, it has a body kit, factory body kit on it, which could be argued to make it look worse, but I actually kind of like it. So
I think it looks good.
I like that.
When I see them, I'm like, yeah, that's not bad.
So I will admit that it should have been an extended cab.
Did they make an S10 Extreme extended cab?
They make an extended cab. They don't make a 4-door Extreme.
Oh, okay.
They make a 4-door S10, but not an Extreme.
Right.
But I would have rather had the extended cab just because I would have liked to have a place to put stuff inside the cab.
Yeah.
But this is what popped up. The reason I bought this truck, when I bought it, the motor was blown up and had already been removed from the truck, and then I think the previous owner realized that he was in way over his head and just sold it.
Because he put the turbo kit on it.
He bought the truck as a bone stock truck. He put the turbo kit on it. It's got I just rolled over 77,000 miles on it. I've put about 7 of those 1,000 miles
You really
on
put that many miles on it?
That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
drive a lot.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I get shit done.
No, you drive a lot. You're just driving to and from getting.
He just drives back and forth to West Des Moines because he doesn't live here.
Yep.
That's part of it. But so it's a pretty low mileage truck. It's rust free, which is super rare for S10s in Iowa, especially.
Yeah.
It's a very clean truck. I was really happy about that, and that was why I ended up buying this one. Was just because it was in such good shape, and the motor was junk, and I was pretty excited about rebuilding the motor. I really liked the idea of it has a turbo kit on it. They claim that it makes 200 horse to the wheels. I don't know that that's true, but it's decently quicker than a stock one. So it's fun. It's different.
It's a little different.
We'll get into why I think it's better.
Makes a lot of stains, though.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He's ruined Robbie's driveway.
The turbo's oil seals have. I'm pretty sure it's the turbo's oil seals have gone out, but I found out that it's actually really cheap to rebuild a turbo. Turbo rebuild kit for the turbo I have anyway is like $45, and you just need it balanced, which I believe a local machine shop can do, and I could have a new turbo, basically a new to me turbo on that truck in a matter of 24 hours. So that is going to happen probably this week.
Good call. Robbie's landlord will thank you.
Yep.
I'm also going to research how you remove oil stains from driveways, and I'm going to come and
You know how you do it?
the best I can
You know how
for
you do
Robbie
it?
because I feel really bad about it.
A torch and brake cleaner.
I don't know if that one's going to go over that well.
That would be
I
hilarious.
might get evicted for that one.
That's what we did when the 68 Camaro, the power steering, the high pressure line exploded in Bill's driveway.
Did it work pretty well?
Yeah, because when I went back there was no stain. I was like, holy cow, that's amazing.
All right, well,
it was like
I'll get a torch.
Brand new concrete.
Try that, or we could just power wash it.
Nah, dude. Why are you trying to turn down all of these?
I just want
I just don't want to burn down my neighborhood.
Nah, we'll figure it out. It's concrete.
brake cleaner and a torch. A lot cheaper than a power washer.
I'm not going to buy it.
It's a lot more fun than a power washer.
That too. I don't have a power washer though. I mean,
There's a lot of people listening to the podcast. Be like, hey, come to West Des Moines. We'll put you on the podcast.
bring your torch and your starting fluid, and we'll clean Robbie's
Clean my
driveway.
driveway. We'll put you on the podcast.
You would be the fan of the week.
I'll bet we'll get a lot more people that'll respond to torch and starting fluid than we'll get people responding to bring your power washer.
That's probably true.
All right, so I have a 2013 Hyundai, which is how you say it, by the way. Americans.
Hyundai.
Hyundai. Veloster Turbo. And it's stock. It's a 6-speed.
I'm going to say this right off the bat. Michael's probably done this most correctly.
Thank you.
No.
I think
His car has 3 doors.
Michael's car fits what I consider a daily driver and what you consider a daily driver more than anybody else's car fits. Like, Michael's car is a good middle of the road compromise between my definition and your definition.
Can I explain my reasoning?
Absolutely.
Robbie's going to disagree, but I'm going to explain.
Let's start with yours.
Let's start with yours because I think yours has the least amount of argument.
It's really not that interesting. So,
but it's way less arguing.
Yeah, and it makes
than my car or Robbie's
I'll just explain my reasoning. We'll go from there. So when I bought it, I had that 2004 VR6 GTI,
which was a ticking time bomb.
It had 120-some thousand miles on it.
It's time to get rid of it.
It's really not that many.
Replace the map sensor about 40. On a VW, that might as well be 300,000. I replaced the map sensor like 4 times. It was literally a once-a-month thing, replacing the map sensor.
Been there, done that.
And so I was just, I'm done with this. I'm buying a new or almost new car. I need something with a warranty, because at the time I was driving almost 100 miles a day to work, and I couldn't deal with the GTI being broken, because that means I couldn't go to work. And I didn't want to work on it. I was putting $200 to $300 a month in that car in sensors to try to make it work. I was just like, it's going to be cheaper for me to have a car payment than to keep dealing with this piece of shit.
And this is where Robbie and I will agree on, is that you cannot have a daily that is that unreliable. You just can't do, and that is why I got rid of my Audi, was because I just could not trust that car enough, and I only had a 20-mile round trip, and it was miserable.
Yeah, and so the other thing, my other reasoning was, if I'm not working on this car, that frees me up to work on cars that I actually want to work on.
And you are working on that car. You are not playing with that car.
Right.
And we've said this before. Those are vastly different things.
Because when something goes wrong on your daily, and it means you can't get to work the next day, that's like your whole world crashing down.
Yeah, you just go Hulk.
Yeah,
you get angry.
It sucks, man. I've been there. Here's the thing, though. I'll do it again, I'm sure. Like, I almost bought that A3 that was imported from Germany. You have those moments.
You're welcome.
Quick update on that. It's no longer on Craigslist, which means it probably sold, or the guy realized that he's sitting on a gold mine and kept it.
God damn, I should have bought it.
But it's gone, just for those
so
who
glad I
were
talked to you
waiting
about that
with
car.
bated breath on the edge of
loved it.
their seats.
I love that car so
They
much.
paid for the whole seat. They're only using the edge, but it's gone.
So I bought this. So I drove several different things. I drove a Ford Focus ST. I drove a Fiesta ST. I drove a GTI, a new GTI, which I don't know why I did that, but I did, thinking it was going to be better.
It had a warranty on it, though. That's all.
Yeah.
That was what we said earlier in other podcasts too. Is if you buy an unreliable car, buy an unreliable car with a warranty at least.
Yep. But the thing is, with the GTI, when I drove my GTI to go to the dealership to drive the new GTI that was 10 years newer, it was worse.
What was worse?
Like the handling.
The new one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
I was
because
bummed out about that.
because they're trying to make them softer and more appealing to mass.
And it was huge. You get in. That was the thing that screwed the whole thing up. Is if I had just driven it standalone, it probably would have been fine. But you drive the old GTI with the VR6 and all the torque, and it's smaller, and
The noise
and all the nice leather in that car. I don't know if you remember those, but they actually had nice interiors. They're really simple, but everything was soft touch and everything was leather.
and they're logically laid out. Things are where they should be.
It's nothing crazy.
You don't have to look at your dash for 30 seconds to remember where your heater control is.
Right. So I drove mine to the dealership to drive theirs, and theirs was a disappointment, and that's why I didn't buy another GTI. Now, do I kind of wish that I had sometimes, because, it's a Hyundai, like, who cares?
There's something wrong with your front bumper.
Get some shit for it. But here's the thing. I've put, how many miles? 48,000 miles on it or something like that. It's been a great car the entire time I've owned it, and it's got a 100,000-mile warranty. So I take that shit to Redline all the time. Because if it blows up...
But you have to wait till it warms up to get boost.
Yeah, that's, like I said, it's exactly like a BMW M5. When you start it and it's cold, it won't let you rev it all the way out.
He hates it because every once in a while we'll go places in my vehicle and his vehicle. He's following me and he can't keep up with me because he has no boost.
I've got that engine without the boost is like 110 horsepower, and you just got nothing, just blah, and it dies. Like when we left that Cars and Coffee last year, you guys ripped down the road, and I'm like, I got nothing. Got me out of power.
You're still faster than Chaz.
So yeah, I don't know. It's been a really good car. And the weird thing was, my argument for it being maybe not the greatest daily driver, because I constantly think about changing my daily driver, is you can't tow anything with it because the exhaust comes out the center.
But you and I kind of look at daily drivers similarly.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Today, thinking about the podcast today, getting on to Ashworth to come here, there was a Veloster sitting there with it had a tow receiver on it.
How?
It was under the exhaust.
Does it basically scrape the ground?
It's pretty close. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
you can't come up like steep
And
inclines or anything like that.
At that
Yeah.
point, what are you towing? Like,
Well,
like a suitcase?
A motorcycle, probably. A small, a dirt bike or something like
I
that.
suppose.
Build a small tire rack for your autocross slicks.
Yeah.
For your Veloster. Your daily driven Veloster, you're getting slicks for.
Don't ask me questions I don't want to.
Hey, it's okay.
There's crazy people out there.
No,
man.
I understand. I have plans on my computer for if I want to build a trailer for my 240.
David Price
same
shows
thing.
up. David Price shows up to autocrosses in his Porsche Boxster with a little trailer behind
Porsche
it.
Boxster S.
Yeah.
He's got a Boxster
understand.
S. Shows up with a small little 2-wheel trailer and a set of slicks on it and a
Again,
jack.
I have nothing against any of that because
then he
it's
destroys
not a daily car.
everybody.
It is a race
He's
car.
just fast.
And then he goes home.
Then he puts his RE11s back on his Porsche Boxster, puts his A7s back on his trailer, and he drives it home.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People
impressive.
do that.
I get that. I'm all for
So
it.
yeah, someone might put a tire rack on the back of their Veloster to put slicks
my
on it.
point is that's his daily. It's not his race car. That's not why he would
Yeah,
do
but
it.
that's just me, though.
But that's the thing. That's what's so good about autocross is that you can race your daily.
That's true.
Yeah. And I did. I smoked
I
it.
never
Once.
would because
you did once, and you beat pretty handily a very, frankly, a heavily modified Veloster.
Yeah, there were two of them, heavily modified, and they were blaming their tires. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Yeah,
Drive faster.
drive better.
Smoke those tires.
So
All right.
driver mods for the win.
Yeah. So maybe we should come back around because, my contemplation of maybe this isn't the best daily driver. So maybe we should come back around. So Adam has to justify his decision for having
So
the
I'm excited
S10.
to hear this.
no one can see this, but I have a blip shift shirt on that it says interstateophobia, which is the fear of boring roads. And Katie will back me up on this. She despises this about me, but I hate driving the same route to and from something. And like when we go from here, from our home to my parents' house who live in Sioux City, or her parents, her mom specifically, who lives in Bancroft, Iowa, which is a tiny little town in North Iowa, I have 10 different routes that I'll take at any given time to get there.
fucking terrible.
Because
Terrible.
to me, driving somewhere is part of the adventure of going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, so to me, I can't get in a car and just, I hate interstates. I hate 4-lane highways. They're boring. They're straight. There's nothing interesting. There's nothing to look at. There's no nothing. It's just.
I think you need XM radio.
Fucking boring.
I think you need to try
And
120 miles an hour because that's a little
so
different.
so what
a
I
lot more
like,
fun.
I enjoy driving back country. Obviously I don't take gravel roads.
No,
I
I
take
understand.
paved roads, but I enjoy driving country blacktops. Or county blacktops. I enjoy. I'll drive old Highway 20 that goes through towns instead of 4-lane Highway 20 that goes around towns because I want my scenery to change. I want things to happen. I want to enjoy my trip. Part of my trip is the driving itself. It's the experience. It's the
See,
that's
I'm
part of the
too
fun.
impatient.
And part of your trip is coming to a stop so that you can spool up the turbo again.
There's
which
that
is the whole
too.
part.
So-
a whole part of
and
his truck is spooling the turbo because that's
if-
the fun part.
If you don't enjoy driving the vehicle you have, you bought the wrong vehicle.
I completely agree because as I was thinking about this topic coming up to this, the reason that I bought another manual, because in all honesty, I probably should have bought an automatic because it doesn't really make sense to have a manual if you're just driving on the interstate. Why? Why would you do that to yourself?
I can see that.
But I bought a manual so that I can heel toe shift all year. So I can practice,
Yeah.
it's smaller scale, slower all seasons, but I can practice race car things in my daily.
Actually, that's kind of funny because so at work I drive a Ford van, automatic van, and 2 years ago,
Yeah, here we go. I know where this is going.
2 years ago I decided that because I left foot brake in the Omni when
Yeah.
I'm autocrossing,
Yeah.
because there are some people that argue that left foot braking is quicker because the amount of time that you spend. I mean, we're talking
tenths
of seconds here, but the amount of time you spend lifting off the gas and moving your right foot to the brake and then applying brake pressure, that could have been time you spent moving forward with your gas instead. So if you're using both feet, because you don't have to shift when you're autocrossing anyway.
Yeah.
So, but the hard part about left foot braking is that you always apply way too much braking force, especially in my car that does not have ABS. So what I did is every day when I get in my automatic van at work, I left foot brake, and I taught myself how to left foot brake. And now when I get in any automatic, I don't even think about it. I always left foot brake. Racing tip right there.
All right.
All you people with boring rogue crossovers, at least you can make something out of your boring daily commute to make yourself faster.
That reminds me of one more thing. I had the GTI, which was manual, and then the Veloster that was manual, and then I was driving my dad's truck. And if you know, trucks have these really wide center pedals.
Yeah, they're huge.
And so I was driving down Hickman or something like that in Des Moines, and the light changed. And what do you do when the light changed?
You push your clutch in.
Downshift. Wham! If it didn't have ABS on it, I would have locked it up and spun it probably.
Yeah,
everything in the truck just slid to the front.
I do that a lot more when it's column shift or when it's console shifted.
Yeah,
than when it's column shifted.
Yep.
Yeah, but I've done that in Katie's Focus as well.
You only do that about once, and then you learn never to do that again.
A few years ago, Chaz's mom lives up in basically the same town. They're a few towns apart, but the same area that Katie's from originally. And so I rode back here home with Chaz so that Katie could stay at her parents' house for a few extra days. And we were riding back with his aunt or something like that, and he was driving her Ford Fusion, and we were coming up to where we needed to turn, and Chaz went to downshift in her automatic car and stabbed the brake. His really old aunt just freaked out. Oh my God, what just happened? She thought we were dying. It was hilarious.
So therefore, your daily driver should have a manual transmission. Now, Robbie,
that's another thing about.
I'm the polar opposite. on that.
So when I get off of work, now I have a very high stress job, and I'll get off of work pretty mad, semi-regularly.
Well, that and you're on your feet running around all day, every day. You're going to and from places.
But, I suppose that could be an argument against a manual. But when I get off of work and I'm high strung and a little bit pissed off, I need something to relax me before I get home, or I'm gonna beat my wife or something.
Whoa.
Wow! I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
I was just gonna say the rest of us drink, but whatever.
Yeah, and I don't drink.
It's called supplements, bro. It's called the gym.
That's true.
So sometimes I want to get off work and I just want to slam some gears, and you're not going to do that in your car.
Plus,
maybe your cars or your work is a little too stressful. You need a better job.
I think what you're referring to is called boost therapy.
Boost therapy, I like it.
Little boost, little shift.
But even if it wasn't boosted, just having a manual car is more fun than the same car in an automatic.
Yeah, but I'll
never argue with that.
The one thing I will say is that if you live in a built-up area and you're constantly in traffic jams, like you live in Chicago or LA or whatever, don't do it because it's just not worth it.
Even downtown Des Moines is awful.
Because
it's so bad.
If you ever driven on the 101,
it's awful, dude.
So
it's 4 hours of
maybe I'm the only person who drives my manual this way. But if I know I'm going to be sitting somewhere, put it in neutral, let my foot off the clutch.
No, it's not the point. Is that you're just constantly clutching and shifting, clutch shift, because you're going 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, stop. 10 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, stop.
I haven't owned a car that wasn't a manual since I was 16 years old, so I guess it's second nature to me. I don't even fucking realize I'm doing it most of the time. So it doesn't bother me.
I guess to us, it's exhausting.
It's just
if I lived in California
it's not worth it.
And I tried to drive from San Diego to L.A. and you did it in a manual, you'd want to kill yourself by the time you got to L.A.
So the only way that I could, because I did consider buying an automatic vehicle when I was trying to get rid of my TT and buy something else. I contemplated buying an automatic. I wanted an S10 either way, but I contemplated buying an automatic. But the only way I could daily drive an automatic is if it had a huge stereo setup in it, because I still need something to beat on and relieve stress on my way home every day. But if I could crank up my bass and give myself a headache and blur my vision because I've make
your hair dance.
Yeah,
you got enough hair to make it dance
because I've got a wall. God, it was then I could justify an automatic.
This is the guy that's having a child. I just want to point that out. The two guys that are the most single, no anticipated prospects of having children. And then there's Adam with this mentality.
I need a wall or I need a manual.
I need
with
a
the
manual.
You guys are boring.
I need
though.
2 seats and
You
no
need
more.
To spice up
Well,
your day.
hold on a second. Let's not say that we're both boring. Let's let Robbie try to dig out of this hole that we've dug
Dig
for him.
yourself out of this boring hole that you've
No,
created
I will
for
never
yourself.
argue and say that my car is not boring, but that's by design. For
But
me,
that's a poor design.
No, I have a race car. That is its sole purpose. It is for fun. It is for beating on. It is for taking out when I am mad or when I'm happy. It is the only purpose in life is to give me pleasure. Yeah, I said it that way on purpose.
Your setup for that got really weird. Really weird.
Sexual real fast.
Well, why do you think the curves are the way? Anyways.
Whoa.
Anyways,
It's taking a turn.
so on the polar other end of the spectrum is my daily driver. It needs to be comfortable, reliable, safe, and practical. Boring if you want to throw a fifth one in there. I get that.
Yeah, but I think you can have a practical car.
you can have
that's
your
fun.
cake and eat it too.
You can't now.
Let me
All right, okay,
finish. 'Cause
all right.
you both got to finish your.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
All right.
It's fair.
So
Go.
I was 16. My first car was also it was a Toyota crossover RAV4. I put 150,000 miles on it, and I only ever replaced tires and then 2 sensors. Everything else was general maintenance. Reliable, safe, practical. Then I went to an Equinox. Same concept, but it was a piece of shit. And now I got my Rogue. Now, when you guys want to go to, I don't know, Speedway, for example, hey, who can drive? Oh, there's 4 of us?
Actually,
Guess who has to drive?
I said
Me.
that my daily does miss. I am lacking that.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that statement.
Okay.
Well, see, here's the thing, because as I start to think about my next daily, because my commute's not as long, and I don't have to, worry about the gas mileage that I'm getting now
As much.
as much. So, because of Adam, I think it is because of Adam. I have this bent.
okay with that.
I have this bent where I think I need to own a 2-seater daily, just to kind of give Adam the finger, because he's always.
How is that?
Because you've always owned a 2-seater daily, and then when we go somewhere, you're like, oh, we can't take my car. It's like, God damn it, Adam. So.
Yep. Well, and that's just it too. I like to go drinking, and if me and Elizabeth go drinking, and I drink too much, she can drive my car home. Your girl can't drive your car home.
Adam.
And if you had a girl, she couldn't drive yours either.
But I would love. Katie needs to learn.
I'm not arguing
want
with that.
to teach her. She just doesn't.
I think that's a terrible excuse for not owning a manual car. I haven't taught my girlfriend how to drive a manual, and therefore I
I'm
can't
not teaching
own
her
one.
the 240. But no, it's like for me, when you're driving to and from in downtown Des Moines traffic or any downtown traffic, having a manual is not practical. It's not.
Yeah, but here in Iowa, there's not that much traffic.
That is our saving grace that we are in Iowa.
Yeah. So we don't live in Los Angeles, California.
that.
And if we lived in Los Angeles, I'd probably have a slightly different viewpoint on this.
Right.
But I don't. For where we live, I don't think your argument, that part of your argument.
I
is
love my
valid.
comfortable, boring car. That is that is why it is what it is. I drive that thing daily, easily, no problems
But
ever.
I truly believe. So I'll agree that my truck is not in group settings. My truck is not practical. It's a hell of a lot more practical than my TT ever
You're
was.
right, and it's going to get even less practical in about a month.
Yeah, having it will not baby. I'll admit that. So my truck, the truck I have now, is not the most ideal, but your vehicle, your argument, your reasoning, and my reasoning, there are cars that fit both of those,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't like those though.
and that's why I'm saying Michael has done it more right than either of us. Because Michael has a car that is fun to drive. It's turbocharged. It's manual. It's mildly interesting. It's funny looking. It's hip. It's fresh. It's edgy.
It's weird.
It's weird, but it's got a back seat. It gets good gas mileage. It's got a crazy long warranty. You could put a baby in it.
Right. Well, my first choice would have been a Nissan Juke, basically for the same reasons.
I would love a Nismo Juke, but it has to be the Nismo.
Even then, I wouldn't have spent the money on the Nismo, to be honest.
That's the thing.
There's the problem.
I wouldn't spend my money on a daily. Like my daily just needs to be nice enough to never have to worry about it. all my extra money goes to the race car. So I don't want to be spending money on a daily. So I'm not spending $26,000 on a Nismo Juke when I could spend $9,000 on a Rogue and then spend the rest of that money on my race car.
But you can still get a cheap, interesting, reliable, functional vehicle.
Oh, I got one. I am completely satisfied with my vehicle.
Your vehicle's not interesting.
It doesn't need to be interesting. It's a fucking boring daily driver.
Hold on. Let's go down this road then. So what based on what we've said makes a good daily driver, what would you buy now?
Well, okay, so do we have to have a price point?
No, it can be personal for you. It
I'd
can
say
be
realistically.
whatever you want.
A car that like if I was replacing my S10 today, something I could probably afford.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I really can't own one because I made too much fun of them. But an Impreza, a WRX, is a very, very ideal daily driver.
Won't argue that.
It's safe. They can be comfortable. They're not comfortable when you put Racelands and low profiles on them. But
no.
But if you leave that stuff alone, they're fun. They're interesting. You put a couple bolt-ons and I would get a premium tune. I'd get a 91 tune because I would not want to daily drive an E85 car.
No. I would agree with that as well.
But an Evo, they're 4-door. They've got a back seat. We could go to Speedway with it. I could put my baby in the back of it. It's got enough room for groceries. That would be a good car. An Evo would work well.
Evo might be too much. Because the Evo is like the STI, and I think it's going to be too...
Yeah, you probably just want
too much.
Regular Lancer then, if you're going to go that route.
No, a regular Lancer's too boring.
Yeah, he's right.
Because they're NA and just not fun.
That answer is annoyingly slightly perfect.
The WRX?
Yeah, stock WRX.
I hate how good they could be.
And you just put snow tires on it in the wintertime, you're going to be blowing by trucks and everybody else.
They're all-wheel drive. They're good cars. If you don't get out of control and run 80 psi of boost and stuff like that, you're not going to blow head gaskets in it. If you just do, like a catback and you call up, I can't remember his name now. Graham, and you ask him for a premium tune, not an E85 tune.
Which he's got. And he's got a flex fuel tune now.
I don't want a flex fuel tune either.
I'm just saying.
Because they don't make a flex fuel one. I have to add those things, and that's money I don't want to spend on it.
You're right.
For Robbie's argument, I'd rather spend that money on the race car.
So I guess the argument to that, the only thing I can really think of is that, if you buy a WRX sedan, let's say, you may lose some practicality that Robbie has because he can put a bunch of shit in the back of his car.
I'd probably get the wagon anyway. I love the bug-eyed wagon. I think they look cool. And if I was going to own a Subaru, it would be a bug-eye because I think the bug-eye is the best-looking one they make.
It's a good-looking car.
And of the bug-eyes, I think the wagon is a better-looking one than the coupe.
Or the sedan.
The sedan.
Yeah.
Actually, I really like the coupe. That's from the generation before.
The Impreza R or whatever it is.
Like the RS, the 2.5
Yeah,
car.
the RS. Yep. Yeah, RS. Yeah, 2.5 RS. That's what it is.
I really like those cars, but
yeah.
In Robbie's defense or Robbie's corner, that's it's got a back seat, but I would hate to have to get my baby out of the back seat of a car when I only have 2 doors.
Right, and
that would be annoying.
That'd be my argument against the Velocitors because it has 3 doors.
Got a third door though.
Yeah, but then even then you have to go to the other side of the car to the passenger side to get in.
Yeah, it is backwards.
If you had 4 doors, it'd be a little better.
Well, so the reason
I'm not ripping on the Velocity.
I know the reason that it's on the passenger side though is because you don't want your kids getting out on the street side. That's why it's on that side.
Fair enough.
So,
and don't get me wrong, it is impractical because if you get 2 people in the back, one person's got to slide all the way over, and then they're like stuck in.
It's just a weird design that I still can't wrap my head around.
So the problem with the Subaru is that the price that I would want to afford is a junk car.
Well, you would be extremely hard pressed to find one with 100,000 miles or less in decent shape that hasn't been stupidly modified and is just waiting to explode.
I think my S10's worth $4,000 to $5,000, so that's kind of where I would put my budget is $4,000 to $5,000, and a $5,000 bug-eyed Impreza is because they hold their value stupid well, and so I don't want that car because that car's junk.
Yeah.
But so Katie has been kind of looking at buying something else because we don't really like her Focus. I don't like driving it. She doesn't really like it terribly. But if she gets something else, she kind of wants something that I like better. So we've kind of been trying to find the compromise between a baby car that she can drive and an interesting car that I don't hate to drive. And like we thought about a Mazda Protege.
That's a good car.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be fun to drive.
Yep.
It's got four doors. It's kind of interesting. There's not a lot of them, so it's different, especially if you get a speed, but I'm not even sure I would.
No, I don't think you need a speed.
Because then a speed is turboed, I think, and I don't know that I want that.
Well, and the other issue is that if somebody else has owned it, because
it's
been messed with, or it's been
beat on,
poorly maintained, or whatever. Yeah,
that's why I really want to. Or for a little while, I kind of really wanted a Cobalt SS, even though a lot of people really hate them and they're going to rip on me. But I'm a Cavalier guy at heart, so deal with it.
That's a great car, though. Every time we go to an autocross, one of those is like dominating.
Yeah, but the problem is that the Cobalt SS is the Subaru of the American sport compact cars.
Just been beat to
There's no such thing as one that hasn't been beat to hell.
Yeah.
They're all beat to hell. They're all modified because they were cheap enough that people could buy them and beat the snot out of them and not care.
Yeah.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to like we did our dream car garage too, and this kind of shows exactly where our mentality would go. If I could, I don't want a small pickup. When I say small, I don't mean like a 2-door S10. I'm talking like a 4-door,
a Raptor.
That might be like on the big side of it.
I'd rather have like a. I really like the Tacoma.
The Tacoma or
really
the Frontier. Like if I could, that's what I really wanted to buy. I just couldn't justify the extra $6,000-7,000.
So my problem with buying, because like you could get a Tacoma that's interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because you could get one that's the TRD.
Or they've got nice accessories for them now. Like when I went to the Chicago Auto Show, they had a whole display of like, really cool light bars and roll bars. So
my problem with that vehicle is that it's cool in the opposite way that my S10 is cool because it's off-road cool.
Yeah.
And I can't use that around here. That's not that's not a thing here.
Not just it'd be a daily.
So what's the point? What's the point in buying a vehicle that's built to go off-road when you live in the flattest part of the world?
I don't know, it's me. I'm not jacking up trucks. All right.
Should we move on to a different topic?
Let's move on to the news stuff.
Should move on to the news.
Mildly exciting.
Move on to the news.
Yep.
Maybe.
All right, where do we want to start with the news? Oh shit, what did I do? Sorry, my computer just stopped. Oh, we're good.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is F1 has a new qualifying format.
So let's explain it first, and then
Yeah.
I've got the whole rule list right here. Should I talk through it?
Do you want to do it? I got otherwise too.
Let's not read it word for word.
Okay, so the old format was 3 rounds of qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Slowest car at the end of the round gets eliminated.
So they did an elimination style qualifying.
Yeah, before.
You didn't just go out and race as fast as you could and then
all day, and then whoever had the fastest time. No, that's not exactly like that.
I thought that's how it was.
The new format is different. There's still 3 rounds of qualifying. They're approximately 15 minutes, let's say, because they're all timed slightly differently. Mm-hmm. And then after a certain number of minutes, depending on which qualifying session it is, the slowest driver gets eliminated every minute and 30 seconds. So let's say qualifying round 1, 16 minutes. After 7 minutes, the slowest guy gets eliminated, and then the timer goes. So after a minute and 30 seconds, the next guy gets eliminated. And they do that until the end of the 16 minutes.
Yep. So then 7 get eliminated, and then 15 move on to round 2.
Right. And then round 2 and round 3 they're slightly different. They're different times and stuff to get the right numbers to make it all work out at the end, but that's basically the format for 3 rounds.
Yep. So then when you're done, you have 2 drivers battling it out for pole.
Right, for the last minute 30. There's 2 guys just hammering back and forth to try to see who can get the lowest lap time.
Yep.
So I can't decide whether I like this or not.
I like it in a video game setting. And I do like the idea. I have a hard time understanding how they're going to just cut somebody off at 90 seconds and say, get off the track. Because they're going to be nowhere near the pits. They're going to be in the way still. Do they just continue to the end?
I think if they do this, they should do it by position, not by time. Like a video. No, it's by time. It's not by position. Yeah. It's not the guy in last place. It's the guy who's lapped the slowest.
Oh, I guess I misinterpreted that.
The point of qualifying, though, is to get the fastest lap so you can get pole.
Well, so
then if
in the glory days of F1, what they did was they turned the cars up to 11, and they busted out stupid laps. And when they were done, those motors were junk, and they put new motors in them, and then they went out and they turned it down to 9, and they went racing. And to me, that's how qualifying should be. Like, you should just go out there and you should time attack the shit out of that, and you should just go as fast as you can. I think they're trying to make a gimmick to make qualifying interesting because the sport has lost some of its interest level.
Right.
And so now they're trying to come up with gimmicks instead of fixing the problem.
Or are you saying that it should be based on position then? So
if they're going to use this system, it should be based on position.
Well, the problem with that is that you have to put them on the grid then, and have them take off like it's a race.
Then you're already racing. You're skipping
right. So
qualifying.
who gets to be first on grid for qualifying?
Yeah,
because you're going to be out of the traffic if you're first.
So that's what I'm saying. It's a gimmick.
Well, it is a gimmick,
and
but
it should. So
you have to do it based on lap time, though.
Instead, that's why I say you just go out there, and you send them out. You only put a couple cars on track at a time. And you send them out 30 seconds apart so they don't catch each other.
Yeah.
And you give them 10 minutes to just go out there and turn their cars up to 11 and bust out stupid fast lap times by themselves. They're not fighting lap traffic. They're not fighting the guy that's behind them that's slower. They're just, they're not. So those cars have so much downforce that dirty wind coming off the car in front of you will make you slower.
Yeah.
Or will change the way your car handles.
Right.
I want them to go out there and be by themselves and just bust out stupid quick lap times on super soft compounds. And then on race day, you dial everything back a little bit and you race.
See, then I'd argue with the dialing back part. Just keep them at 11.
But so in the glory days, in the 60s and 70s, they couldn't race the way they qualified.
Oh yeah, of course not.
They had a qualifying tune that made like 1,500 horsepower, and then they had a race tune that made 8.
Yeah.
And when they were done with qualifying, they pretty much had to pull those motors and
for sure.
and start over.
Left.
But the underlying, and you said it, the underlying reason for this is because they want people to watch qualifying. So it may be more interesting, or maybe even to the drivers or the teams it might be more interesting, but the general viewing public probably doesn't care about watching that because it's not really that interesting.
Right.
But if you're watching the TV and there's 16 guys out there and there's a timer that's clicking down, and there's a guy that's in last place, you're like, oh shit, and then all of a sudden,
it creates an excitement level.
He goes from 16 to 15, and there's 2 seconds left, and the guy that was in 15th is now last, and he gets eliminated. That's kind of interesting.
It is, but it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick they're trying to make Formula One interesting, but they're not fixing why it's not interesting already.
Oh yeah, I agree. They're just trying to get more viewership overall.
Instead of fixing the problems, they're trying to mask them up with gimmicks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm not opposed to it. I guess
that being
might be
said,
kind of interesting.
If they can't go back to old school qualifying, I do kind of think this would be interesting to watch.
I think I might be more interested in watching this actually than the F1 race.
Well,
I think you might be right about that. Actually,
I don't know. It's excitement. It's like bam, 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 excitement, as opposed to racing, which they don't have real long races like NASCAR does, but it's kind of more fast-paced. If you're only racing for 45 minutes and you're trying to eliminate how many ever people it is, I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and they show all of the qualifying on TV for every race.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like 24 hours of coverage, and you can watch all the qualifying the day before. You can watch the race the day of. I mean, it's already on TV. I think they're just trying to get more people to watch qualifying, and it could do it.
So last year, Formula One was kind of like NASCAR. I think. A lot of like sunny day NASCAR fans, like people who are mildly interested in it, they watch the first 10 laps, they watch the last 10 laps, they don't care about what happens in the middle.
Sure.
Formula One was kind of that way. You watch the first 5 laps because the grid started, and the first couple laps things shake down.
They're real close.
And then they just follow each other until the last 5 laps, and then they get back to racing again. And I think that in this scenario, because you can have drivers who are good at cracking off fast lap times, but aren't very good at
passing
at racing.
Right.
And so you're going to end up with different grids very regular. Like last year, someone in a Mercedes car was on pole.
Lewis Hamilton.
Usually Lewis Hamilton.
But yeah.
But Mercedes was just stupid faster. End of story.
Yep.
Well, so what I think they're trying to do is mix the grid up a little bit, and I think it will accomplish that. You'll have a varied grid every single race, and so instead of just watching the first 5 laps, you might watch farther in because they're going to be racing a little more because there's going to be someone who had a bad start on the very first heat of qualifying and got clicked out right away. And he's faster than these guys when he's racing, but he had a bad day and he ended up in the back of the pack, and now he's got a race to the front. And I think that's going to make for more interesting racing for a little bit longer in the beginning of the race.
So are you changing your argument?
No.
It sounds like
I don't want it.
Okay.
But if they're going to use this style, I think it's better than what they were doing
absolutely
last year.
Yes, I would agree.
I'd rather them reset 30, 40 years ago and do it old school style.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to try and do something, this probably does make better racing than last year's system.
And then between this and then the also completely changed aero rules and all the other stuff they're allowing, next year could be a lot of fun to watch.
But I don't. It's sounding like they're more and more not going to do this until 2017.
No, race 6 I think is your best bet if this year.
If it happens at all.
Yes. Otherwise 2017.
So in summary, we're in favor if this is our option versus the current.
I'm not in favor of it overall, but versus the current, I'm in favor of this.
Okay.
I don't have anything against it really.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, maybe some people are gonna watch qualifying and not the race, to be honest, which seems a little bit weird. But for a fair weather fan, this might be. If you run across this on ESPN, this might be more interesting than watching the race, to be honest.
I think you'd watch this, and like I said, you'll watch a little bit of the beginning of the race, but you might watch 10 laps instead of 5 because it'll take a little bit longer for things to shake out and just get into drafting groups and then sit there until the end.
Yeah, fair enough. What other F1 news do we have?
They're talking about using canopies in Formula One.
Yeah, did you see this?
I saw, but I didn't really research it like you did.
So Mercedes developed. So the whole thing was the Grand Prix Drivers Association, their kind of union, has decided that
they've had 2 people killed in 2 years by getting hit by stuff.
They had I'm going to butcher this guy's name. It looks French. Jules Bianchi.
Yeah,
it's French or Italian. He was F1, so he died, I think, back in 2014, and then Justin Wilson died in IndyCar.
Yep.
Last year.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. So those 2 guys passed away. So the Grand Prix Drivers Association has been pushing towards better driver safety, and Mercedes developed this thing that they call the halo, which is like this. It's a very, partial canopy. It doesn't really. It's because they've been talking about enclosing the cars, and I think people are against that.
I don't know why.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, really, if you give it kind of a fighter jet cockpit looking thing,
I saw a drawing that was labeled McLaren. I don't know if McLaren made it or if it was a fan drawing, but it was of a McLaren car, and they had this really low-slung jet fighter canopy thing, and it was badass. It was really cool looking, and I think it looked better than this Halo thing that Mercedes has come out with.
Well, so Robbie, look up the picture for this.
Yeah,
You've seen it, right, Adam?
I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. And it looks.
My issue with
obtrusive.
It looks obtrusive because it's so that if for people who can't see it, there basically what happens is right in front of the driver. There's this thing that sticks up right in front of the driver, literally in their field of vision, right in front of you, and then that's got a brace that goes back to basically the intake for the engine.
I didn't realize that it didn't have any.
How are you going to look around?
So here, their argument's probably going to be that you can see around that thing, but here's the thing: F1 cars make a ton of lateral G-force, so your head's going to be moving left and right. So as soon as your head,
they don't move much because of their Hans devices.
Yeah,
and stuff
their
like
heads
that.
are stuck.
You're still gonna move slightly. You're gonna move enough where the vision of that thing is gonna be bigger or smaller depending on what corner you're going around. Because even if you move a millimeter, that thing is gonna get wider.
So what doesn't make sense to me was the article I read. That was one of the big things about enclosing the cockpit was how to do it without obstructing the view. But to me, when you look at that, that's all that thing does is obstruct the view.
I don't think that's maybe even safer.
No, to me it looks. Yeah,
no, because I think it's going to cause more accidents.
Yeah, it looks like it obstructs the view, and it looks like they're also trying to keep it open. But yeah, you're going to keep a tire from hitting you in the head, but you're still going to get all the little debris. I think a fighter jet style would be a lot better.
See if you can find the McLaren one. Like
it would look like that.
Cockpit
was it a concept or was it a real car? That Lamborghini single seater. You know what I'm talking about?
Egoista?
Is that the one with the orange?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Egoista.
If it looks something like that, I think they'd be better off, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think a glass canopy, like, so they do that on top fuel cars now. They have glass canopies on the top of those cars, and that looks way better.
Is that what you meant?
That's not the picture I was looking at, but it's not a bad one either.
Or this one?
Tell me that's pretty close too. Tell me that's not less obstructive and better.
What are you looking at, Robbie?
We got the Red Bull X Fighter.
That was the car that they put the fake
Oh,
car, or the
Red Bull
imaginary
X-Fighter.
car they put
Okay.
on Gran Turismo.
Yep.
But tell me that's not more effective and less obtrusive simultaneously.
To me, that's better all around.
That is
You get-
so. Actually, what I think Mercedes was trying to do with the Halo
Yeah.
is if the car ends up on its top, how do you get out of that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And that's what the Halo is supposed to accomplish.
Yeah, I can't argue with that either.
That's
I mean,
interesting.
So-
it's a tough design,
But
no matter what.
Mercedes kind of has a solution to that too with the SLS, the first SL, or the not the one that they're currently making, but the last one, because it has those gull wing doors
Oh, that explode.
and it has exploding bolts on it. See, that even seems better. That's just like a windshield that stops. That's
So you're looking at that's a Ferrari.
Scuderia.
What's that
Ferrari.
say? What's the description of that, Robbie?
It's just an article about head injuries. So I
Oh,
don't know
okay.
if
I think that
it looks
might have
it's
been- I
photoshopped.
think
It's
that-
not real.
Yeah, that might be Photoshop
So basically,
or something
it's a
they
piece
tested.
of safety glass in front of the driver, basically, that they can look through, because that's going to keep debris out of you. I mean, I get it that a bouncing tire can hit you in the helmet. That can happen.
That's what killed
Ayrton
the
Senna.
the IndyCar driver
Yeah,
too.
last year.
Oh, okay. So that can happen, but a piece of perspex or whatever that safety glass is going to keep most of the debris out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have to be a very, very, very shitty circumstance to get a tire in there. Most likely it's going to come at you, it's going to hit that glass and deflect up.
Yeah. So the other thing that they did when I was researching this is that they've changed the cockpit edges, so those have to be taller for 2016. So that's going to help, and then also the cockpit itself has to withstand a 50 kilonewton I don't know, impact, whatever that
That's a lot.
measurement is. It's a lot.
From an engineering standpoint, that's a lot of force.
Our resident engineer says that that's going to take a lot of force to break that. So, and that went up from like 5 or 10 kilonewtons.
Jeez.
So
That's a pretty serious jump.
yeah.
No,
So
I'm all for anything that's a little bit safer like that.
Yeah, I think it's
I have
great that
nothing against it.
they're wanting to make things safer, because if they can make things safer, then they can make things faster.
Right. Because they had Bobcat, when I was working there, that we were testing some bulletproof glass for their front door for their skid loaders.
Mm-hmm.
Basically a 1/2-inch thick Gorilla Glass bulletproof for their forestry cutters. Because when you're cutting a tree down when you're cutting a tree down with basically a grinder, it's just
comes straight down on you.
yeah. And that you get
Well, all the stuff flying off
flying at you.
Yeah.
It'd be
50,000
basically that
RPM
material.
spinning wheel.
Yeah, it'd be that type of material, and I think it would work just fine.
Yeah.
But how do you get a driver out of a car that's on its top?
Yeah, no, and that'd be for their engineers to figure out,
Well,
which is obviously
Robbie's a big picture type of guy. He's just solved the problem. He's like Elon Musk. So he's invented the Hyperloop. Now you got to figure out how to make it work.
right.
that's a pretty piss poor engineering.
I'm not getting paid to do all of it. I just here's an idea.
Robbie's
Here's how
the
I would
idea
start.
guy.
This is my starting point.
Robbie's for hire.
Let's face it, the idea guys make way more money than
That's
the guys
true.
that actually get it done.
Big
I won't
picture
argue
guys
with that
Make
either.
more money.
No, I think there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to do it better than the Mercedes one is right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
It's a step in the right direction.
But Mercedes has got their head in the right place, their
Yep.
heart in the right
Yep.
place. They're trying to protect their drivers and make a safer sport, which is good.
And
I'm all for it.
and call me crazy, I think they look cooler with the
I
the
kind of
canopy.
like the canopy.
They look a lot like a fighter jet, and I think that's even cooler.
So that it's called open wheel, not open cockpit. That's kind of my thing.
I think that's just maybe a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah.
True.
That's probably
it's been
really
it's been
really
open
what
Despite the
canopy
fact that I
since
just
forever.
nostalgia'd the qualifying thing, I'm not nostalgic about the canopy thing because it's safer and that's all that really matters
Yeah,
to me.
I'd rather see him going on 250 with a safer car than 200 with a unsafe car.
Yeah.
from somebody who does, I don't race actively like they do, and the racing I do is by far the safest racing you can do. But coming from that thought, I would much rather have a safer car than a nostalgic car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true.
You can do classic racing elsewhere, not at 200 miles an hour.
You can do that at Goodwood.
All right, what other F1 news do we have?
I think we're done with F1.
Well, so I don't really remember it very well, but they did talk about. I saw something about. There was some talk for 2017 about major improvements to aero and power, making these cars faster. And Pirelli said that their current tire technology could not handle being. They wanted like a 10-second drop in average lap times.
Holy cow.
And Pirelli's like, let's go with 5 first.
Hey, let's take a step back and think about that.
Let's start with 5-second drop
What's
average lap
the
time.
company that they're doing all the qualifying on this year? It's not Pirelli. It's a different company.
Oh, really? I didn't know
There's
that.
a different tire that they're trying a new compound, and it's supposed to be. It's the Ultrasofts. The new Ultrasofts are supposed to be even faster. But I don't think they probably.
I don't either.
I just read like a quick snippet on some other article.
I want to touch like what they consider to be an ultra soft tire.
Probably get stuck to your hand.
Yeah, because our 40 treadwear ones are not even close.
Well, yeah, like my slicks are sticky, and I want to know what those are like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Next thing we got is the cheating Lamborghinis at the Rolex 24-hour at Daytona.
This is my favorite story of the year so far.
I didn't.
Makes me so happy.
I read a little bit into it. I thought it was really funny.
So they have this. They have this performance index that they use to base the, because all these cars have like restrictor plates and stuff like that. Because they try to make like a car that has maybe a better chassis doesn't get as much power because they try to make close racing. And what they're claiming is that Lamborghini drove really slowly on purpose during qualifying so that they could just come out and slay everybody.
Well, and it wasn't just qualifying; it was like pre-season.
Yeah, so they do this run up to the Rolex or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I think they have to submit data for this index.
They do.
And so they just blatantly lied about the data.
Yeah, they just like, we're going to drive at 0.8 for all of this.
Yeah, so they sent in data before the actual race, before any qualifying, and they just said, here's what our engines are capable of, and then that's where they're going to get classed on because of that data, and it was all lies. So then right now, those engines are sitting in Connecticut getting ripped apart and being proven that everything they did said
I think that Audi's R8s fell under this too because they're the same car.
No. So here's the thing: the Audi was 1.5 seconds slower, and that's why everybody was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here? This is essentially the same car."
Oh, you mean at Daytona?
Yeah, the Audi R8 was 1.5 seconds approximately slower than the Huracan.
Like average overall, probably.
Yeah, so that threw the flag. People are like, "Wait a minute, what's going on?
WTF?
Something's not right here." Basically, the Italians fulfilled their stereotype, and they lied and submitted bad data.
So Volkswagen may have bought the Italians, but the Italians, you can take Lamborghini out of the Italy, but you can't take the Italy out of Lamborghini.
What I couldn't. When I was looking at the results, the best position they got after the fact, like after they took away their penalty or gave them the penalties and all that, their best place was 10th. So were they really not that close to the top?
That's the other funny thing about it. That's the other funny thing about it is that even when they lied, they weren't really that good because the guy came 5th. Their fastest driver came 5th, and he got pushed down to 10th after the penalty.
Right.
They might have had the fastest lap time, but they damn sure weren't the fastest drivers there.
It's all about race strategy, and they don't have it because they're too busy smoking cigarettes and
going to lunch and having
figuring
wine.
out what their next cheating strategy is.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta love these.
Their race strategy meetings were about how we can cheat, not how we can win. True. When I was reading about this story, I saw something about restrictor plates and stuff that has been done with them before.
Yeah.
And there's a story that I saw that is really cool, and I want to share it real quick. So I think it was Group B. Or maybe it was after. I think it was after Group B when they killed Group B off.
Yeah,
and they were trying to figure out how to mesh things out. So they had
talking about rallying. Group B
rallying.
Yeah.
So Toyota had, or their rally car had a restrictor plate on it that they set up, so where it would bolt to the intake manifold.
Mm-hmm.
The bolts were spring loaded.
Holy shit.
And at full throttle, the spring tension was low enough that at full throttle, the vacuum that the intake would create would pull the restrictor plate open.
It's brilliant.
And then when they let off, it would slam shut. And so when you're teching the car, it's closed. And apparently they made it like a long time before someone finally realized what was going on. Because when you looked at it, when you teched it, you did not see it. Because, you know, those bolts just thread into the intake manifold, and you can't see that there's a housing inside of that. It's spring loaded, and it took them a long time. And some tech inspector was like quoted as saying that it is the single most brilliant method of cheating that anyone has ever come up with.
Awesome.
What's the phrase? If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
Yeah.
It's
the same phrase you have in
cheating.
college. If you're not cheating, you're not trying to get your degree.
Next topic. So Ford patented autonomous race car mode.
This is dumb.
This is the dumbest thing.
I almost don't even
So it
wanna
gets a
talk
step
about
dumber. So let's talk about this first.
This is like the automatic
right now,
trailer
granted,
backup
it's
thing. It makes me
just
mad.
a patent, so obviously there's nothing that they've actually done with it yet. My first thought was like, this is the stupidest thing ever, and I don't know what car they're going to put it in. Say they put it into a Focus ST, or what do they call it?
Focus ST.
ST.
Yep.
Say they put it into a Focus ST and someone drives on the street. Stupidest thing ever.
Well, that's the problem, is that it's an autonomous car, and an autonomous car does what it's told to do based on the law of the road.
Right.
And so all it's going to do is it's going to accelerate as hard as it can to 65 miles an hour, and then it's just going to stop there.
Yep.
What's the point in that?
And then not only that, you'll be cutting off drivers left and right. All you're going to be doing is cutting in front of people, next to people, but not hitting them because you got your sensors.
Should have called it Audi mode.
Or BMW mode?
BMW mode.
BMW mode.
Well,
Does it disengage my turn signals at the same time?
Let's assume that it
I
does.
can only hope.
Let's assume it doesn't do turn signals because you're racing.
We don't need turn signals anymore because it's autonomous. Who are you telling that you're turning?
The autonomous car behind me.
So here's the other thing. When I was reading this, there's like 5 settings. So there's chauffeur mode.
Yep. Which is your slow and luxurious.
There's eco-friendly.
So mad about this.
Eco-friendly. There's sport, and then there's race car.
That's only 3. You said 5.
I think that was it.
Okay.
I don't understand any of it. If you have an autonomous car and you're not driving it, don't you just want to go somewhere?
Yeah, aren't you on the interstate?
Why do you want to be car sick when you get there and have no tires?
I don't know. You'd be car sick.
Well, you might be.
Well,
If you're the type of person that needs to drive to, be in control and
yeah. See that I don't understand the autonomous car thing. Period. But this
I
goes
agree.
back to my I don't like driving the same routes twice because driving is part of my adventure. So
Yamaha.
see, I feel like Robbie should love this autonomous thing because it just
autonomous-
makes my life so much simpler and more boring, and I love it.
Autonomous is stupid.
So Yamaha took it one step farther. I think they actually came out with this technology before. But what they've done is they've created a robot that rides a motorcycle autonomously.
They can drive faster than any human can hang on.
No, well, yeah, but here's the thing. They're trying to make it go faster than Valentino Rossi. But my question is, you're a company that builds motorcycles for people to buy and enjoy. Why have you created a robot that rides your own motorcycles? Who's going to buy the motorcycle? Why?
Get a sidecar and just hang out next to him.
Why?
I don't get it.
It's
I don't
worse
get it
than the
either.
autonomous car because at least you can ride in that. This is way worse because it's just a robot on a racetrack going around and around and around and around until it runs out of fuel.
Yeah, they should have talked to their marketing guy before they did this.
And how much money did they spend on this?
Yeah,
Millions. But here's my 2 positive points for this, and you guys might berate me for it.
I'm ready to.
My first one is this could be a new like you got the Formula SAE and stuff like that. This could be the new college racing. You got programmers to design the best automotive or autonomous race car, and you put them all on the track, and whoever has the best program wins.
Who's going to watch that?
Who goes to Formula SAE races? Engineers in college, and that's it.
I would go watch a Formula SAE race.
I'd rather go watch a Formula SAE race than a car driving itself around.
Well, that's my point. This could be a computer engineering challenge. Do I see it having practical applications? Not really. And then another one.
I see the practical applications. I just don't want them.
I'm talking race mode. I'm only talking race mode right now. I'm not talking about like the let me drive on the interstate with my hands off of the wheel type stuff.
What's your point number 2?
My number 2 point is say, I know this one's it's out there.
At least he admits it.
Well, that's just it. Like I'm not on board with any of this, but like I'm trying to see it from both sides. So, say you do have a Ford GT with this for some reason autonomous driving mode, and you go to any racetrack and you drive it by yourself and you find out your best time, and you go to the autonomous mode and you just sit in it and you let the car drive as fast as it can go, you could learn from that and figure out where you're going slower than the autonomous car's going. It could teach you. I'm not saying it's a wonderful thing. I'm just saying.
He's got a point. I can't argue with.
I want to
his
argue against
statement.
it though.
I know you both are looking at yourself.
Oh, I want to. But he's got a very valid point.
But I think we are assuming that the autonomous race car mode is absolutely correct. We don't know that.
That is my assumption. I admit that.
Audi's got that RS7 or whatever that's got the fully automatic deal on it, and they race it around Hockenheim and had their DTM guys try and beat it and couldn't. Now, this is with zero fact-checking, but I remember a few years ago, Peugeot put together an effort to take back the Pikes Peak world record.
Okay.
And Sebastian Loeb drove their car, and he ended up being faster than what their computer model predicted as being the absolute fastest time that car was capable of driving up that mountain.
Right. I'm not saying.
So there is something to be said for, a human being in a car just doing his thing. He managed to get up that mountain quicker than what the computer said is the theoretical fastest that this car is capable of being.
Right. Because so even with the math, you have to make assumptions that your tires are exactly the same grip at the right speed, stuff like that.
Being an amateur driver, you could use the mode that Robbie's talking about. You could learn from it, and then you can try things based on what it taught you and see if you can be faster than it.
But is that something you want to do, though? I mean, at some point, you have to draw the line and say...
I think it'd be kind of fun to try and be faster than my computer tells me I can be.
Taking some of the sporting out of... Like, at some point...
I think it'd be okay for people who kind of want to be competitive but just do track day stuff.
Well, to me, it'd be like putting yourself in a simulator. I'll sit upstairs. We'll sit in our simulators and we'll practice racing for hours, and we'll see what the best time is other people have done. It's kind of the same concept. You can race against the computer.
Rather than racing against the guy in front of you who doesn't realize you're trying to race him, you can race against the computer, and it's theoretical how fast it says you can go around this track.
Yeah, so I guess then you have the AI for video games already. You could argue that
I'm
AI
not a
could be
competitive
taken.
person, and so I don't think I'd enjoy it that much. I don't think it would increase my enjoyment of a track day, but there are people out there who are so competitive that would increase the amount of enjoyment they get out of being at a track that day.
Right.
Just trying to beat the computer.
Right. If I had a track to myself in an autonomous car, that's how I would use it. But granted, I wouldn't take it to a track day and let it drive itself.
Somebody would, though.
I understand.
So I think we just argued
Doug
for...
DeMuro would take his autonomous car to a track day, set it on autonomous mode, and lean his seat back.
And then he'd write about it six
write
or seven
about
times. The problem is, I think we've just argued for the autonomous race car mode.
I know I did, because I think I'd be... To me...
He's arguing it as a teaching method for being better on non-autonomous mode, and I'm okay with that.
That's the only way I would enjoy it.
I don't know. There's something about that I really don't like. Because to me, I think it's just a slippery slope before...
It is a slippery slope.
You don't get to drive your car anymore.
Right, and that'd be a different racing league. That's a computer program league.
They're never going to say I can't drive my car on track.
No.
That's not going to happen. I would be shocked if we make it out the other side of this lifetime without seeing a point where we're not allowed to touch, where we have cars that don't have steering wheels. You get in it, you tell it where you want to go, and it just takes you there. I would be shocked if we die before that happens.
DUIs would be going down to 0.
But you don't get into your boost therapy.
I understand.
And so
we are all on
angry.
the same page
I'll
on
be
that one.
I'll be
Angry
beating my wife in no time.
He'll be a very, very angry old man.
Oh, man.
And on that note, we should stop this.
Yeah, we are there.
Pretty long. We've rambled quite a bit on this one today.
So you can find us on 10tenths anywhere, really. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, the website.com. I don't think we have anything else to plug. I think we're good.
No, I think we're good, man.
Yeah.
All right.
We need to get this over with.
We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.